Now that the project is complete, let's create a cinematic animation. To render and animate a project, it's best to use a copy of the main project, because some changes will need to be made. First, I'll create a copy of the main project. For this, you need to pack your project. Go File, Zip Project, choose a safe folder. Now extract the zip archive file. Launch Unreal Engine. Browse, find the folder with the saved project. Select the Unreal Engine project file. I have already placed cameras in the scene. Let's look at the principle of creating and configuring a camera. First, choose a good angle where you want to put a camera. Viewport option. Create camera here. Assign camera actor. Now switch to camera view. Perspective. Select the created camera. Now adjust the camera position. Lens settings. Select a lens you like. I like 30mm. Adjust the camera position again. Now I need to set focus. Use the manual focus distance to bring the focus to the foreground. You can set it manually or adjust the focus object in the scene. For start, I will use 300mm. Move on to setting up the next camera. I'll set up a general plan for the house. Next camera. I need a close-up on the furniture on the terrace. Another camera overlooking the garden. Place other cameras in the same way and adjust the focus for it. All cameras are ready, let's create an animation. Create a new animation sequence folder. It will store files with camera animations. Right-click, Cinematic, Level Sequence. Give a name like the name of the camera. Switch to camera view. Open the created sequence. Next, I need to add a camera. Track, Actor to Sequencer. Find the camera in the list. Camera successful added. One sequence can contain multiple cameras. I usually create a separate sequence for each camera. This allows me to adjust the render for each camera individually. Leave only one camera in the sequence. On the right, it's a timeline slider. You can choose the number of frames per second. Leave by default 30. In the lower right corner, you can adjust the duration of the clip. The default is 165 frames. You can increase the length of the clip if needed. Return to default. Let's move on to recording the animation of the camera position. Move slider to frame 0. Find the Transform tab. Write down the first animation key. This is the initial position of the camera. Now move the slider to the last frame. Move the camera to a new position. Write the new camera position to the animation key. Play the animation. Now the camera is not moving evenly. It starts slowly and stops slowly. Select Animation key. Click with the right mouse button. Change to linear. Play again. Now the camera moves even. Let's animate the focus distance. Write down the start key for manual focus distance. Move slider to end. Adjust and right key for the final focus distance. I want the focus distance to stay at the same at first 30 frames. Move the slider to the frame 30 and change the focus distance to the same value as at start. The key was generated automatically. In the same way, create another key so that the focus changes faster than the camera movement is completed. Let's move on to adjusting the camera shake effect. In the folder with the sequence, right-click, Blueprint class. Find camera shake base. Run the created file. Click Compile. Close and reopen the file. Root shake pattern. Perlin noise camera shake pattern. Click Compile. Return to the camera sequence. Click on the plus sign to the right of the camera component, Camera Shake, and select the Blueprint class you created. Move the new component to the beginning of the clip. The camera shake effect is now too short. Go back to settings and increase the duration parameter. The length of the effect has become longer. Now adjust the strength of the shaking effect. Rotation. Increase the rotation amplitude. There is too much shaking. Adjust the intensity of the effect to achieve a smooth result. The shaking effect is ready. Go to Camera Settings. You can also adjust the exposure separately for each camera. I want to boost the vignette effect to add more depth to the shoot. Find vignette intensity and set it to 0.5. Let's move on to setting up the next camera. Create a new sequence. Add a new camera to the sequence. Animate the camera. For the new camera, create a new camera shake blueprint class. Adjust the effect. To adjust the duration of the effect to not be limited by time, set 0 value to duration. Now the effect will be throughout the clip. Set up other cameras in the same way. I got these cameras. Create a separate folder for exterior and interior cameras. Let's move on to setting up camera animations in the interior. First, you need to set up the light. Turn off all exterior and fake lights. Select light sources and deactivate visible. Next, you need to adjust the position of the sun to interior position. Now place and set up the cameras. Cameras and animation is ready, let's move on to the render settings. First, create a new folder on the disk where the renders will be saved. Each camera needs a separate folder. Let's move on to the settings. Open Movie Render Queue. An open sequence is automatically added to the list. Click Unsaved Config to go to Settings. Output. Resolution set to 4K. Now let's set up the save format. Click Setting and select PNG format from the list. Delete JPEG from the list. Next, add anti-aliasing. Activate anti-aliasing. This module is responsible for rendering quality. Anti-aliasing method multi-sample anti-aliasing. Spatial sample count 8. Temporal sample count 16. In my experience, these are the optimal values. Go back to output and set the save path for the sequence. Give the folder the same name as the camera. Let's start rendering. Render local. But as you can see, the furniture has disappeared from the interior as the project is affected by the blueprint. Cancel render. Go to Interior Collision Blueprint. Break ties between events and scripts. Next, I need to transfer the content of all levels to the persistent level. Select the first level. By right-clicking, select Actors. Next, choose Persistent Level. Move selected actors to level. Also, transfer assets from other levels to Persistent Level. Switch the viewport to unlit mode. This will allow you not to waste system resources during rendering to display the scene. Go back to render settings. I want to test render one frame. Activate Use Custom Playback Range and set start frame 2 and end frame 3. Adjust save format. To get faster result, change sample count settings in anti-aliasing. Now save the setting preset so that it can be used for other cameras. Click on Saved Config. Save preset. To save the render settings template, choose a save location. Now run the render again. The furniture is back to place. Artifacts in the form of stripes appeared on the wall on the left. These artifacts can be fixed by lowering the final gather quality. Select all interior post-process volumes and set value to 4. I will rename the finished render so that I can compare the results. Make a new render. The stripes artifacts have become less visible, but they are still visible. In this case, you need to change the position of the camera a little, but I will leave it like that, because it will not be so noticeable on the animation. It's interesting that increasing the final gather quality above 4 makes the whole rendering worse. Now I'll set up a preset for the final render. Add anti-aliasing and game overrides. Save format PNG. Anti-aliasing spatial sample count 16, temporal sample count 8. Game overrides change several common game-related settings. This is useful if the game normal mode displays UI elements or loading screens that you do not want to capture. Adjust output. Save the settings preset. Run final rendering from this camera. As you can see, Unreal Engine saved each frame as a separate image. At the stage of video editing, this sequence will be converted into a video file. Now let's move on to rendering the view from the fireplace. Open the camera sequence. You can delete previous sequence. Use the created preset to customize a new sequence. Select sequence and apply preset. The camera automatically changed to the one from which preset was created. On the right side of the panel you need to select the correct sequence. For me it's camera 13. Start rendering. You can see that the fire looks like it has not yet flared up. To fix this, you need to adjust the warm-up count of the render. Go back to the movie render queue. Anti-aliasing. Increase engine warm-up count to 128. This is the path that allows Unreal Engine to run all processes in the scene before the render starts. Engine and render warm-up is also effective in the cases where artifacts appear on the first frames of the animation. Start render. Now the fire from the first frame looks good. Now adjust and render from the other cameras in the scene. Make the exterior rendering by yourself using the same settings.